I'm going to start with one of our lighter beers. We'll go with our X.
Okay.
This is our transition beer where we get people off of mainstream beer into the world of flavorful beer. It's not offensive. We're just going to give you a little bit more malt than you're used to and a little bit more hop character, but still nicely balanced, easy to drink, and then very light color. For whatever reason, people consider darker beers are heavier and this and that. Not necessarily true. One of our lowest alcohol beers is our Nut Brown Ale, which we'll have in a second. But so to get people off of mainstream beer, you need to let them see that the color is not going to scare them. This looks a lot like something you might find at any sport bar, like a light beer even color. But as you put it to your nose, you can't miss that hop aroma, which we use a lot of American hops, which are you would use words to describe them as citrus-like, grapefruity, things like that. Even a slight pine element in this, but we really want to give you, and that is a delicious aroma, even to the non-experienced beer drinker. I think this is just universally makes you, this smells delicious. So underneath that is a nice little light malt bill. Again, keeping the alcohol low. Nothing we want to offend people that aren't familiar with microbrewed beers. But we want to give you a little bit of a biscuity malt character to hold those hops up, give you some balance, not too much bitterness. And there's our X, Extra Pale Ale. This is our next beer, Anvil ESB. This was once the flagship beer of AleSmith. It was the first beer produced at AleSmith in 1995. And ESB stands for Extra Special Bitter. It's a style made famous in England. And although it has the word bitter in it, there's really nothing bitter about this beer. It has a nice caramely sweetness up front that you perceive on the tip of your tongue, and then it's just balanced, not excessively, just enough English hops, East Kent Golding.
It's not super hoppy on the nose.
Styrian Golding. Their hops are called noble hops. They're a little different than our brash, loud American hops. They're very subtle. They offer very nice, smooth bittering notes and have a different flavor profile altogether. So the way we get that color, we just use 3 varieties of crystal malt, and we create this nice rich malt character to it, which is characteristic of the style. It is supposed to be just a touch leaning towards the hop, but because it's a noble hop, it's not so noticeable.
Really nice, yeah.
Thank you. And
this, really, it's got a real creaminess to it, which
very smooth. Has a real nice sweetness to it, and it's my go-to beer. I require 20, 40 ounces a night of this. Just quality control, of course. But
exactly, and R&D, part of the R&D.
So I do think it's one of our beers that kind of escapes most. Now people are looking for big hop character, big alcohol character. So I always point people towards it. They ask me what my favorite beer is. I always say it's the Anvil ESB.
It's really good.
Thanks.
Really good.
Yeah, it's our Speedway Stout. This is pretty much the king of the castle here. It's our highest alcohol beer. We make it 12.5% by volume. And it's also infused, it's a Russian Imperial Stout infused with coffee that we do here on premise.
Wow.
And the coffee is roasted by Ryan Brothers, a local San Diego company, so we like to keep it nice and local. And yeah, we do a special process. It takes about 5 hours to produce this coffee, and then we add it to the Speedway Stout at completion. And this particular beer, we do different versions of it where we change the coffee out.
You add the coffee like before bottling, after fermentation.
Yeah.
Okay,
right, in the secondary, right before bottling and kegging. The coffee that we add to this is a Mexican Oaxaca blend with a Sumatran right now is our standard Speedway, at least in 2011 is what we're doing. We do single varietal coffees. One of our more popular ones we use is the Kopi Luwak, the world's rarest coffee. We do a special version of that, and we're hoping to produce a bunch more of that in 2011.
Wow.
And that's the beans that actually pass through the body of an Asian palm civet, and they're collected from the jungle floors and all that story. But it does make an interesting cup of coffee, and that beer has gone up to, I believe, 3 versions of Speedway are in the top 10 on one of the more popular website ratings.
It's really,
so
and the nose, I mean the smell.
Black as night, as you can tell, and roasted barley is the signature note in that. That's what's called for in a stout. You want that roasted element, but we do layer it in with chocolate malts, crystal malts, making for starting gravity of 1.104 on average. That's how we get that 12%. We also add sugars directly to the kettle to get our original gravity even higher.
Oh yeah.
And there's plenty of hops in this, although you're not detecting the hops, but we have to add a lot of hops just to balance that incredible sweetness. So there's as much hops as our IPA, but you don't notice it at all. So flavors of chocolate, roasted malt. There's a nice residual sweetness, but you can see where that just stops, and that's from the hops. The bitterness, the coffee adds bitterness as well.
Right.
So
and the hops adds that a certain freshness on the palate that does keep you wanting to have a second glass of it.
It
Otherwise,
you
it would be
you're still drinking a beer.
Right.
It's not like
maple syrup or whatever.
Scarily drinkable at 12.5%, and that's what most people say. They're like, "There's no way there's that much alcohol in it," but then you try to walk later and you see, and we're not lying. And we do preach drinking responsibly. Of course, this is why we don't sell pints here in our tasting room. We do these samples. And half of our lineup is over 10%.
It's really great, really delicious.
Thank you. I think the real test of AleSmith beers is I want you to have another one. Like when you finish it, you really want to have another glass, and that's sort of the test. If we ever make a beer where that's not happening, where I finish one, I'm like, I want another beer of another flavor, then we need to keep working on that one.